Dear Rich, I know you're confused. I know that privately, deep down, you're in pain.
I was a round-the-clock drinker. It was not unusual for me to start the day with a vodka tonic.
You can't help but feel like an imposter, a fraud in waiting, inches away from being cast out.
Lie to everybody around me about this crazy secret life that I was living, including myself.
Your confusion is understandable. There is no obvious cause, no villain to blame, no easy rationale for the complicated emotions you feel.
Addiction had robbed me of all of my aspirations, decimated my potential, destroyed my life, and really broke my soul.
Mom and Dad have always been loving. You were neither abused nor suffered any identifiable trauma.
How do you develop a positive relationship with your past without identifying with it in the present and letting it dictate who you will be in the future?
That's like the ultimate question. It feels real, but it isn't. There is hope. There's lots of hope. And you will find a key to this prison your way. This is a promise.
Your past, present, the future.
But back to the beginning. I think swimming was my first addiction. I was a kid who, from a very early age, felt alienated and very different from other kids. And it led me to feel quite insecure about myself, which in turn turned me into a little bit of a loner. I struggled to make friends and to connect with other kids. I lived in my imagination. I fell in love with books, I fell in love with writing, and I fell in love with swimming. I discovered that when I was underwater, all the noise and all the confusion seemed to vanish. It felt like this womb-like encasement where I was safe. It's away from bullies and away from the challenges of trying to figure out how to fit in. Really was a saving grace for me. I was determined to become a champion. I became convinced that my self-will was the recipe for success.
I was somebody who started out with a lot of promise. I was the kid who graduated at the top of my class in high school. I got into every college I applied to, Harvard, Princeton. I went on to Stanford, where I was a member of the legendary Stanford swimming program. I was a world-class swimmer.
In lane 5, Rich Roll, 18 from Bethesda, Maryland. Ryan, it's lane 5, Rich Roll.
Somehow I squeaked my way through Cornell Law School. I was somebody who started out with a lot of promise, and yet here I was in rehab. A lot of promise.
And I vividly remember the feeling of being drunk for the very first time. It was as if I was being encased in a warm blanket, and everything that was anxiety-provoking in my life seemed to vanish. And suddenly I felt, maybe for the very first time, comfortable in my own skin. And all I remember thinking was, I want to feel like this all the time. It got pretty low. I got 2 DUIs in rapid succession and was looking at jail time. I had a marriage that ended on the honeymoon. And in order for me to want it, the pain of my circumstances had to exceed the fear of change. But luckily, I still had people in my life that loved me, and I was able to seek help when I was finally ready for help. And it wasn't until all of these things had happened and my whole house of cards had collapsed on top of me when I finally woke up one day and for the first time had a willingness to truly change how I was living. I went away to a treatment center. I ended up living there for 100 days. To this day, I credit that experience for saving my life.
I remember a counselor coming up to me and he had a question for me. He said, "Rich, are you a human being having a spiritual experience, or are you a spiritual being having a human experience?" And it's taken me a very long time, but now I'm very clear on the fact that I am indeed a spiritual being having a human experience.
Dear Rich, this adventure will be difficult. It will be laced with hardship, but in time, you will put the lie to the story you have always told yourself about who you are. In time, you'll construct a new story, a journey to wholeness, to self-respect, to becoming your authentic self, a story entirely your own.
I was successful in repairing my life. By my late 30s, I had a very successful career. I was on the partnership track at a prestigious law firm in Los Angeles. I was building a family. I was living in a really nice house. I had a fancy sports car. And yet at the same time, I had overlooked a couple crucial key things about how I was living. The most important thing that I had overlooked was my health and well-being. By the time I was 39 years old, I was 50 pounds overweight, and at the same time, on the inside, perhaps more importantly, I was dying. I was depressed, I was unenthusiastic, and really disillusioned with this professional career that I had never really put that much thought into figuring out whether it was what I really even wanted to do.
Change is never linear. Change is messy. It's one step forward, two steps back. Yes, you have come so far. You've gotten sober, you've stayed sober, you've repaired these relationships. But what other areas of your life remain unattended to? What else are you hiding from?
On the evening before my 40th birthday, this existential crisis collided with a health scare. I was walking up a simple flight of stairs to go to bed when I had to pause halfway up. I was winded, I was out of breath, tightness in my chest, buckled over, sweat on my brow, and really fear in my heart. Once again, something was very, very wrong in how I was living my life. I had gone to rehab for drugs and alcohol, and now, at least metaphorically, I needed to go to rehab for food. The changes weren't overnight, and they weren't linear, and they weren't perfect, but ultimately I arrived at this place of wondering what would happen if I got rid of all the animal products on my plate. No eggs, no dairy, no fish, no cheese, no meat whatsoever, and all the processed food as well.
What's up, man? How you doing? Love the sunflowers, beautiful. I think I want to get some traditional sunflowers today, just one of the bunches.
Okay?
Yeah, cool.
All right, let
Thanks,
me grab
man.
your flowers.
It's a call you will answer. Along the way, you'll finally realize that you didn't need to earn love. You have always been loved. And it's this epiphany that will catalyze a fantastic quest that will push you beyond your limits. It will teach you more than any classroom ever could. It will lead you to inhabit your true self as home.
I felt this extraordinary resurgence in my vitality. Suddenly, my energy levels were through the roof. I was sleeping better, and I was struck by the incredible resilience of the human body to heal and to adapt. And this realization led me to a question. And it was a question that would soon become an obsession. What am I truly capable of?
I'd never been a runner, but around age 40, once I laced up running shoes and went out on these trails exploring for the first time, there was a sense of peace. There was a sense of connection, a sense of oneness. Running is freedom. Running is the ultimate primal human act. We truly are born to run. And yet, it will humble you to your core. Just me alone with the sun on my shoulder at dawn and the sound of my breath. And this swelling of joy. An indescribable feeling of everything being right in the world. And that's when I fell in love with running.
How do you develop a positive relationship with your past without identifying with it in the present and letting it dictate who you will be in the future?
My greatest accomplishment is that I healed myself, not just in body or mind, but in spirit.
Who you will be in the future.
I'm rich. Nothing is ever static. Every breath, every thought, word, choice, decision, interaction will either progress you towards that person you aspire to be, or it will distance you from it.
Yeah, it's about being present, right? Are you actually listening to the people that you're engaging with during the day?
You will tell new stories, empowering stories of the simple things that spark your curiosity, stories that celebrate the human spirit, the healing power of connection.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, I'm pretty well heartened about what I did because here I am. I'm happy. You're happy at 100. Well, you do me a great honor. You really do. You changed my life. I can't express it.
From the heart. From the heart.
Things that bring and have always brought you joy. Family, friends, the importance of community.
All right, guys, so we're gonna get going here. I'm so stoked to have all you guys here. We're gonna just do a tour of downtown, and we're just gonna have fun. You know, running is about community. You know, there's nothing like the conversations that you have when you're running with your pals.
Movement, the innate ability we all have to tap into hidden reservoirs of potential, to grow, to positively impact others and the world beyond. What tomorrow will bring, well, that has yet to be written. So remember this: growth is your purpose. Growth is our purpose. It is a lifelong process. It's not a destination, and nothing is ever static. This is your path. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is the path. Be patient. Be kind. Have faith. And get to work. I can't wait to experience what you make of it. Because tomorrow is yours.